Well, it is day 2 of Mount Dora, and it's drizzly. Now, drizzle doesn't bother me much in Washington State, but here, well, it has a little bit more of an effect, as you can see behind me. A lot of dealers have not opened today. What do you do on a rainy day at a show? You find the places where people are open, and you go shopping. What is it that they say? When the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. So that's what we're going to do. So this is what my booth looks like today. Crazily enough, I actually sold a clock already. There are a few hardy souls out here. So Susan is opening, and I hope that she does well. And we will come back later and see how she's doing. Hello there, folks. So if you're ever coming to Mount Dora and you say, oh, well, it's a little bit rainy today, some people will be here for you. So where are they open? Well, in the pavilions, and this is where the crowd is. There's lots of stuff for sale, so let's see what we find. And the first thing I see that I think is really cool is right here, the 5-cent slot machine. There were 5-cent slots, quarter slots, and occasionally larger numbers back in the old days. Gambling became legal in 1931 in Nevada, and that's when you see the golden age of slot machines in America. This one could use some restoration, but it's a really neat looking piece. There are still some states where it is not legal to own a slot machine, however, so if you collect these, check out your local laws and make sure you're not befouling them. This is Rosenthal's Moss Rose pattern. These are coasters with a sterling rim. We just had a whole set of this at the estate sale that we did last week. It is one of their earliest patterns and one of their most valuable. This little gal is really sweet. And this lettering, if you see this tells you it's actually Japanese, and it's lighter weight ceramic. So she looks like she's from 1910, but she's really from the 1950s or 60s when they have that interest in 1890s, 1900s stuff. You see these sorts of things being made. She's awfully cute. She's $69. This is one of the fancier, bigger jewelry caskets you're ever going to see. I like the amber inserts. And the figures here, this is definitely Hollywood Regency style right out of the 60s. And then look at this really nice guilloche enameling on this dresser set with all of the pieces. It's got the mirror, it's got the brush, it's got the dresser jar. You've got your button hook, because some people still had high button shoes that they needed to pull. And you've got a nail file. This would have held a comb originally. The comb part is gone, but that's actually something you can find replacements for. And a shoehorn. So that tells us this is 1910s because of the button hook and the shoehorn when people were still wearing those big tall shoes with all the lacing. Cute little mid-century Danish teak tables here with the tile. And it's interesting to me, a lot of the teak people have been not going for the stuff with tile in it, but I think the tile is really interesting. And I think as people start to have more and more teak, they're going to start looking for the tiled pieces because it's something that breaks up. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of brown boxes. And a lot of people who've been collecting teak furniture were at that point. That's what happened in the 70s when it started to go out of style, was everything was brown, brown, brown. And that's when you see the tile inserts becoming more popular. She says it's got a maker's name or something on it, and so she's going to kindly show us. Oh, very good. There we go. Mobile Fabriken means furniture factory, and Toften is the maker. So that's what you want to see. You want to see a Danish label. That is very nice. It looks like a kabuki doll. That is really interesting. That is one of the more unusual... A kokeshi doll, thank you, yes. Shido Shizan. How did you find the information on that? I've never been able to do any scholarship on these.
I can show you on my phone what I looked up and found.
That is a really fun one with the geisha and the hair up and everything, and this is really unusual compared. Most are just sort of round and painted faces, so this is really something different. So she was able to find on Etsy a piece that had the same signature, and they had a lot of information about Shido Shozan, who was only around till 1995. These are older than people think. They've been made in Japan for very, very long periods of time, and they became very popular in the United States after the Second World War because a lot of people brought them back as gifts and things. Oh, thank you. That's a wonderful piece.
Thank you.
Great face.
These from with these little balls on them?
Oh, yes, yeah, and then they would put the paper in instead of printing it. Indian Trail Tavern, yeah, that was a cheap way that they could make these for any establishment without having to do the screen painting on them. That's neat. This is the original Glamour Girl. This is one of the earliest head vases. I believe Morton Potteries did some of these. around 1950. This is when they were made in America, but this one's interesting because it is a wall pocket. And that's a little bit different than we usually see. And $28 is not a bad price. If it was a little less, I would probably buy it for resale.
I was told that it's Native American.
Native American, interesting. Yeah, so many of the turquoise mines are playing out now, so some of these colors aren't available anymore. Those are really highly carved. Do you have any information on who did them?
No, I don't. It has a tag at the bottom, but I can't see where it was originally.
Oh, I see. Yes, it had some sort of a maker tag that's worn off. Well, this is interesting. Well, if any of you folks have seen anything like this, let us know in the comments. These are quite impressive. And carved turquoise, to my mind, is going to be up there with carved jade because you just don't see this stone in these sizes anymore. And look at all the detail. Those are beautiful. And what is your price on the two of those?
This one I have $2,600.
Mm-hmm.
And that one I have, I think, $1,800.
Wow. They're really quite spectacular. Very, very, very fine work. That is neat to see.
You have to keep watching.
This is Zanelli, Italy, and what an interesting design. Very modernist, and I love the craquelure. This is deliberate. A lot of people think the crackling comes with age, but I know from writing the treasure craft book that by the mid-20th century, when this was made, this actually was a thing that you could do in the glaze and have it do while you're making it. And there's the Zanoli mark inside there. Very stylish. Yeah, you don't really see that color. They're really fun with the glitter and everything. And yeah, 155, you know, who knew 20 years ago these were just sitting in drawers and people weren't using them or thinking anything about them. And I remember getting a pair and holding on to them. Mine were like this. And wow, now everybody is onto them. I sold a piece of this recently. This is Medina glass, and this is made in Malta, a pair of English glass blowers. Right when Malta got its independence from England, went there and started this company. And actually, $32.50 is a pretty good price on this piece. It's nice that it has the signature and the label. They are still producing today, but their designs have changed over the years. Another line I only recently discovered and also sold a piece on eBay is Sargadegas from Spain. This was in the Gallica part of Spain, and this is an area that had a tradition in porcelain making, and because of the Spanish Civil War, that had all ended. And in 1968, as the Civil War was ebbing there, they actually started producing again. What a fun modernist design. It is beautiful, yeah.
And that's the best price you'll find on it anywhere.
I believe you, yeah, because it is Bitossi, isn't it?
This one on eBay for $1,800.
You saw one for $18 on eBay. Wow, yeah, it's a really great piece. This is a wonderful Millefiori art glass lamp. He's got $800 on this. I love the mushroom shape. Shapes like this were done before the Second World War and then again afterwards. This one is a post-war piece. Looking at the plug, you're probably looking at something that's about 40 years old now, but it is just gorgeous.
Schiebenstahl, something like that.
Oh, yes, with the orange peel glaze. Yes. Handarbeit, handmade. Oh, this is neat. They are fantastic. It's interesting because we see Hager orange peel in this country, but this is what it was based on, and what an amazing glaze.
And according to him, it's harder to find in Germany.
Really, the German pieces I see like this usually are, you know, they're cruder, they're not as well finished, and this is a very refined glaze. What's that now? Oh, Garcia. I've seen these before, actually, but I don't know a lot about them. They're Spanish, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah. Esmaltes Garcia.
Pieces on eBay.
Yes, I've seen them around once in a while, but you don't see them very often. And there's so much good enamel work that was done in the 50s and 60s. And there's starting to be some scholarship. In fact, actually, my friend who's shopping with me, who I won't show on camera by her request, but she loves enamelware. And I found a book on metal in enameling at our last estate sale. I gave it to her, but I'm going to have to read it when I'm at her house because it's really interesting and it shows a lot of the people who did it, and I think that it's really coming on as a collectible area.
150 for the 4 pieces.
Oh, that's actually not bad for what it is, in my opinion.
I've seen people sell these for $75 a piece.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I really like all of this. This is fun. 1930s and
30s. The ones that say made in Japan.
made in Japan, right?
Older than the ones that say Japan.
Right. The Japan ones are 50s, exactly. And they're just really fun. I love this guy's face. You've got cigarette holders and little ashtrays and the cat.
That's a cat.
Yes. Love the stylized cat. One thing I wanted to show in the turquoise jewelry is sometimes you'll see them with coins in them, and a lot of our coin collectors get interested in jewelry because of this. You'll see squash blossoms with JFK half dollars in them because they're silver, and it was just something they could have easy access to use as a motif. Buffalo nickels were very popular to use in the designs. Now, the buffalo nickels are nickel rather than silver, but then I think a lot of them were plated over. So that's a really neat looking piece. That is a big old buckle for $150. Now, some people like rusty and crusty, and I have to admit I do too, especially when it's old cast iron with embossing. And this one's really cool because it's advertising. This would have been in a cigar store, and this is how you cut your tobacco. And there's the advertising for all the tobacco. I'm going to ask him how much that is because I notice his cherry stoner, which has great information on it too, with a 1917 patent date, is $35, which is not a bad price. This looks like probably a Buddy L truck here. And he's got a Chuck-a-Luck for the dice rolling. He's got some fun things that I like. Interesting. I knew it was advertising, but...
Tomahawk tobacco. 1, 2, 3. Here's Griswold.
That's the Griswold mark that I missed. Yep.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, and on the bottom they've got the Reading hardware that's got the patent on it.
Just down the road from Griswold.
Interesting. It is really cute. It doesn't have a spoon, but it's a jam pot. It's got one little chip. No, they really are very, very bright. They were having a lot of fun after the war. I think they were just so glad to be able to do it again. If it didn't have a chip, I'd buy that. My friend is wearing this really nice enamel bracelet, and then we see a very similar one. I believe they're Chinese, and the one in the case is $475. So, wow, you got a good deal on yours.
Yeah, I didn't pay anywhere near that, I'm sure.
Yeah, very nicely done. Those are Chinese, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
From the 30s.
30s, yeah, I was thinking 20s or 30s.
And
Yeah,
they're
beautiful
both
work.
for sterling.
Oh, I see. So Vermeil, okay.
And then I have the matching earrings.
Oh, that is really beautiful. And 120 with the discount. It's really pretty with the amethyst and carved bone. And she's got a very Art Nouveau look to her, but I imagine she's more contemporary than that. Yeah, she's great. Yes, there was a lot of Art Nouveau revival in that period. And you have a lot of really nice Chinese bracelets and filigree and things. Actually, you have just a lot of really beautiful jewelry.
That you have in your case.
Yes.
Sell?
Well, hers are...
No,
No, I sell here actually, but I'm out in the field and it's too wet to bother opening, so I'm having fun shopping instead.
Good idea.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Yes, the glass with the inserts, those are just gorgeous. I think that would have been the era I would have wanted to live in. Just love the designs.
It's pretty too, but there's just something about it.
And she actually has what, to my mind, is one of the best Sarah Coventry. This is the Sarah Coventry, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that is about the best set they had made. Did anyone ever figure out who made that for them? Because it's so much better than most of their work.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I was happy to find the necklace, which is hard.
The necklace is almost never there. I see the pin and the bracelet maybe once in a while.
And sometimes they were earrings.
Yes.
But they were so big because each one was a square.
Right, yeah.
Nobody wanted those.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they were giant. I remember those. Oh, and some beautiful check pieces here. How much is the pink one?
$165.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Such detail in the metalwork, too. Well, thank you. These were wine bottles. This is Italian glass, not to be mistaken for Pilgrim or Blanco. And you see the import for the winery on there. And it's got a certain crackle finish to it, although it's not actually crackle glass. It's just the way they did it. $75 is a very fair price on that. Ah, Brimfield. I have to take this. People are amazed when I say I have never been to Brimfield, and I'm kind of amazed too. So I think I need to put, most of these states conflict with other stuff I'm doing, but I'm going to try to find one of them I can go. This is something unusual we don't see often. These are carved sheaths to contain knitting needles. Mrs. Paget. either made that or had it made for her by a whittler in the family. Very unusual work, generally Victorian era. There's some firkins. Firkins have this nice strap overlay. I recently did it on the Shorts channel, and if you haven't seen the Antique Nomad Shorts, I do put interesting short form comment on there from time to time. And we had a horsehair sieve that was made in a very similar manner, where the wood is bent wood, it's thin, they would moisten it and keep bending it until they were able to attach it with brads on the other side. And these have some nice toll painting. They have nice motion. And she's got some nice amber here. Big amber stones. This is the stuff that you see when you are in Gdansk nowadays. She really has a lot of big, mostly contemporary, but really nicely made, big, chunky amber jewelry. We really don't see this in the United States very often. When you go through Gdansk, the amber markets are full of this sort of thing, and she's got all sorts of information and identification on them. These woven necklaces are something that's very popular. When you go to Poland, you'll see them like that as well. Our friends from New York that we introduced you to yesterday sold a whole bunch of swung vases, and that might be why this is the only one I've seen in the market so far, and it's wet, so I'm thinking maybe the dealer just bought it outside, but we're going to ask how much that is anyway. That's a Fenton hobnail with the swing, and the last one I saw was priced at a massive amount, so we'll see what they want for this one.
This is Alvaro Corte. It's contemporary to Aldo Londi, and he had his own business.
Oh yes, okay, I've heard the name.
This is Fenton.
Oh, look at that. For Raymor, yeah. Boy, the Raymor folks, they really had a lot of great designs done, and so many different people.
Aldo Londi for Bitossi. And you know what I just found out? Aldo Londi and Alvino Bagni were like best buddies.
They were competitors, but they really got along, and you see there's differences, and you can tell if you get studied.
I think it's the interesting thing. From 1955 to 1990, Londi designed everything.
He designed everything for who?
Bitossi.
Oh, yes.
He was the art director. He designed everything. I've seen sketchbooks of his, but you look at Bagni's album, and he hired designers.
Yes.
Different, so.
Yes, the Bagni stuff really varies because he wasn't doing it all himself, right? Oh, that's a Bagni piece. The glazing is just so amazing. The variegation.
Just to look at this, would I have guessed it was Bagni? No, not really.
I wouldn't have thought it was. Right. If you learn the way they did the markings, you will know. But yeah, I wouldn't have thought that was Bagni either. But like you said, he had other designers work for him. So
this is Italy. You know what I mean? If it's marked Italy instead of Italy, that means Aldo Londi marked that.
He did it personally himself. Yeah, kind of like Sasha Brostov, if it's a full signature, is he actually made the piece. Very interesting to know. That's a very good tip. With Poppy Trail sculpted lines, they would actually leave some brown tone in to give it a little bit more dimension. And sometimes people actually do think that it's dirty, but that was on purpose. This is why it's fun to come to antique shows and pick things up and learn, because you see one thing and you think it's something, and then you find out there's a story and a link to something else. So now I'm all intrigued with this, and I might have to buy it. And what were you said you were going to show me or tell me something?
I found it.
I like this guy.
So
Oh yeah, but you've got the tumblers. Yes, that's great.
I've never seen the glasses.
Oh, that's so fun. You really never see them together, and actually that's such a great combination together. And I love the way it sticks over the top and you get that contrast. Patent leather, those are fantastic. I think it's fun too. I would have that set. Very 80s, and if you're doing gray interiors and you want to stick to that sort of monochrome, well, black is a good thing to add, so that's pretty cool. The giant pig glass jar. We usually see this in clear. This one's in an amber color. This is kind of fun. I think this is plastic fantastic, but it is late 60s or early 70s and very heraldic looking. $95 on that swag lamp. This is another obscure regional beer that isn't around anymore. Gunther was from Baltimore. They probably pronounced it Gunther, I imagine. This is a nice heavy tray, a little thicker and heavier, and a regional brewery. $20 is not a bad price at all on that. $30 on the McCoy Happy Face Bank. And it has its trap, and that's important because they were metal and they're often missing. I do believe they used rubber ones at a certain point in the production as well. And look at the great pink color on this gumball machine. That is not the color we usually see those. This is an old pin, and I always get a kick out of these depictions of the pilgrims. So here they are wearing all this heavy, fancy clothing, and then the natives are wearing practically nothing. Does that really make sense? Isn't it really hot and steamy in New England in the summertime? Our depictions had a lot to do with establishing supremacy more than reality. And this particular piece, which is an old one, you can see that it's got a safety catch. Only $5. This was probably done about the time of the 300th anniversary of the landing at Plymouth Rock in 1920. And for $5, I have to admit, it has a certain charm, even if it's not really historically accurate. Well, this is mainly inexpensive jewelry, but this has a lot of nice shine to it, and it's only $10. I don't always go for pearls, but because of the clear in the aurora stones and the fact that it's a crescent rather than a full circle, it's actually fairly interesting. Not terribly well finished on the back. This was not expensive jewelry in its day, but I still think it's got some appeal. I also see a Wedgwood piece, and I'm looking for Wedgwood these days. And I always like jewelry made by companies that made other things. This one's $30 though, which is about the price it should be. This one, again, lightweight, not necessarily a great piece of jewelry in terms of its construction. Probably Judy Lee, looking at the way the rivets are on the back and the filigree. But it's got a look. And that one's only $12. Not prong set, you can see where the stones are glued in because it was less expensive jewelry at the time. It was made in the 60s. This one's got a look to it. This is BSK. This is $10. Nice big swirl. And it is signed. So his prices are certainly right on this stuff. And he's got more across the aisle, so let's take a look. You said that, he does have the flower pins are $8 each, and I usually am willing to pay $7, so I might have to buy a bunch of these. Yeah, that's kind of cute. Oh yeah, I think we might be able to make a deal here. Of course, you always have to look because the enameling's so thin, like this one's got a chip right there, and yeah, you have to be pretty careful with these, but that one seems like it should have had leaves. I like the polka dots on that.
And the diamonds.
And the diamonds, yes, diamonds. Diamonds for $8, they must be great. That one's kind of fun for color. Yeah, a whole tray full of these. I think I'm going to spend a minute with those. Well, like a smart jewelry dealer, he's given me a tray, and he said he'll do a little better on the ones if I get a bunch. I am going to step up a little bit more for this one because I think it's the most interesting looking one. But this one has a Trifari crown mark from before 1970, and this one has a Robert mark. So those two are going to sell for a little more of a premium just because of the names. So we are cooking with gas here. Tom's Peanuts. Now, this is a real one. There are reproductions of these. So let's look at what you should be looking for with these. This should be embossed with the word Tom's. There's a little bit of wear here. That makes sense. And also, importantly, on the bottom, this one has lots of wear and says that it is the property of Huston Peanut Company. Those are the things that make this a real one. There are a lot of reproductions. The reproductions feel greasy and slick because they're recent era glass, and it anneals differently now. So those are all clues so that you make sure you're buying an original. Not many people realize that a little bit of Fostoria American was made in color. That red platter is an unusual piece for $49. Let's see. 1974 Balmock, I think, which is not familiar to me, but I like it. It's nice and dirty.
Too. I know I like it.
Yes, that means it'll probably be cheap. Oh, that's too bad because that is really sweet. Yeah. A lot of later Majolica figures are made like this, but you don't see black people generally. And this one is interesting. He's an artist. There's your mark on the bottom. This is likely to have been made in France, where racial attitudes were more open by this time, which is around the 19-teens. Priced at $269. That's an unusual one. Lots of fun Murano bowls. I particularly like this Blue Splash, $69 on that. This is Buffalo's Del Dare ware, and we don't see a ton of this on the market. This was done about 1910. They also did a Dickensware line, and it says made at Buffalo Pottery, Del Dare, where Buffalo Pottery ended up being a big restaurant maker, and you will still see Buffalo marks on pieces made now by Oneida, who eventually bought them. The pig bank is fun here. This is right out of the 70s with this texturing, and it actually has a mark on the bottom that tells us that it was made in Japan, and there is our maker information. You'll see a lot of these, and they generally are not marked, so that's a little bit of fun and interesting information. I have a butterscotch colored Erica phone in my space for sale, and this one is a nice green colored. This actually does have the attachment that would go in a modern wall outlet if you actually have a wall outlet for a phone these days, for a landline. Sasha Brostoff Starsteed. These are the first Sasha Brostoff pieces I've seen at this show, and I am sold out in this market. $129 for the large vase here, and you see the Sasha B mark on the side and no mark on the bottom, and that means this was made in the first factory, which burned in 1952. And then there's the nice dresser box as well. These are Japanese based on Beth Barton bugs, and here are all of the little guys. Here's the one with the books and the papers. Very cute.
That is early 1900s.
Yeah, it looks like 19 teens or 20s from the attachments and everything, but I haven't seen a Catteau lamp in years, actually, now that you mention it. That is wonderful.
Really over the top.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all the detail and the design, and yeah, Catteau is just really known for this in size, design, and all of the, and it's a little bit more freeform.
It has kind of that.
Yeah, exactly. It sort of looks like things you would see in Italian pottery from the mid-century, but it's actually 50 years before. He has a lot of latticino here, and this one is really unusual and over the top. This is Italian, and the latticino is what you see in here. The English call it latticino because it looked like lattice work to them. Latticino in Italy actually means coffee with milk, so they think it's very funny that we call it that. And that is a really unusual piece. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's trying to be sculptural more than something you would actually drink out of, although I suppose you could if you were really having a good party. And we'll show you what most pieces look like that we see. Most of what we see looks like this, small novelties. The clock is a good example. Perfume bottles and this sort of thing. So that piece is really quite splendid and over the top. This tile is mounted as a trivet in a nice frame, and it's Guy in France. There is the mark on the back. Very pretty work. It's the ceramic version of, very similar to in color and the sort of texture to Champlavet, the enameling that they did in some ways. Definitely has that feel, and I like the surround with all of the birds and detail here. Fenton's Holly and Stag Carnival glass, a pretty blue piece here for $89. Prices are still fairly low on the Fenton Carnival, and this is early. This is around 1910. And when we see the prices that the later Fenton art glass are going for, you just figure it's only a matter of time until people start catching on to the early pieces. Here's something we might need today. Miscellaneous jewelry, 3 for $25. Well, it's always worth taking a look because you might find something that's interesting to one of your collectors. Most of these cameos are going to be plastic, but I noticed one has a lot of rhinestones in color. The plastic cameos were a thing in the late 60s. But this one, of all of them, actually seems like it's got a little more panache. The finish on the back tells you 1970s. I kind of like that one. I see a micro mosaic pin in here. It's just round and oval, but I don't see, oh, thank you. I don't see a lot of micro mosaic lately at these prices for sure, so I think we might get both of those. We'll take a look in a little better light here. Down here we've got bracelets at $10 each. I see one that looks like a lot of fun. It sort of looks more like a charm. I think I'll use that little metal tray there for my hold. This one certainly has a lot going on. We'll see how that looks when we put it on a wrist. Oh, thank you. Yes, I think that's what it needs, actually. Some of these, I think, are something somebody made up with other jewelry, so I'm not sure how they're going to look.
Figure out how it latches.
Oh, I'm not sure it does. Yeah, sometimes it's just about being wearable, and it looks good on. I agree. I think that one's a winner. And it's got some sort of a maker name. It's not sterling or anything, but my friend has better eyes than I do. It says China, so that means this is the new marcasite, not the stuff from the 80s or the stuff from the 20s and 30s. So we're going to leave this one behind. This is neat. This is an old leather fire bucket, and this is from the Worcester Fire Department in Massachusetts. You do not see leather fire buckets very often, but they didn't rust out because they weren't metal, and you used what you had. So the bucket brigade looked like that. Well, this is a $3 jewelry spot, and we have some cute little Christmas tree earrings, which would probably be worth buying, and some glass cameo ear clips, which might be worth buying. But what we'll definitely be buying are these, because these are marked Renoir. And the clips seem to work well. You always want to test that before you buy. Sometimes they're bent and they will not clip, or they're loose and might fall off. So always check them before you buy. Some fun stipe pieces here. This particular one is the Siamese cat from the 1960s. It does have the button in the ear and the tag still. This is the puppet version of the tabby kitty, and the puppets are something that are fun. It's a little different than the full-figured animals. Cute little long-haired dachshund for $25. The prices seem really good on a lot of these. The elephant has the little bell here, and his original tag as well. The tags usually say the name of the critter on the back. $59 on him. And for you Disney fans, here we have Lady and the Tramp. These are Shuko. These are not stipe. You notice the difference in the eyes. And they don't have the button in the ear because the button in the ear was Stipe's trademark. This is a really big selection of Art Deco carnelian jewelry and jade. These are pieces we don't really see in this kind of abundance together usually, and they have prices anywhere from $150 to $400 on them. But they're nicely made in sterling, and they're all 1930s vintage. This is C. Allen Johnson, and rather collectible now. And the net maker is hard to find because the nets often got damaged. So
200 on them.
He's great, actually. He's very neat. I will keep him in mind. I go to the Northwest and do shows there in the summertime, so
Yeah.
I recognize a little of that. They really are neat. What age are they?
It's hard to tell, but
Yeah, it's always hard because their colors, you know, you look and we would say, oh, 1950s from the colors, but they were working in stuff like that way before that, and it's a natural skin on the bottom.
Right.
These are in great condition.
there's no beads missing. It's the only one I've ever had that didn't have any beads.
They almost always are going to have shed something, yes.
Yeah.
They look like they were maybe not even worn. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
what
yeah.
what tribe? Look at the patterning on that. So that's Navajo, I assume. Oh, yes, and tied at the corners in the correct way.
Yeah.
Wow, the condition is wonderful on this.
I don't think this has been on anybody's floor.
No, I don't think so either. Maybe a wall, or maybe they just kept it in the chest because they were afraid to show it. Great geometrics. Yeah, that is really a beautiful, beautiful piece in wonderful condition. $900 seems like a good price for the condition. And then for something completely different, these are various AMA Gypsy Tour buckles. The American Motorcycle Association would take Gypsy tours every year, and you would get a buckle or a pin related to that. And they're pretty collectible now. You see prices in the $60 to $75 range on a lot of these. Motor maids. There were a lot of women who rode motorcycles early. There's a whole book about it. It's kind of a fascinating subculture. A lot of women were told that women shouldn't drive cars, so they said, fine, I'll get a bike instead. They have a whole box that has never been used of these Libby Safe Edge, and the reason they were called Safe Edge is look at the thickness here. They would roll the edge so that it wouldn't chip, and that way you would never cut your lip on it. And that is one of the reasons Libby is still in business as a glass maker today. We were trying to figure out why these were $60. They are a nice long strand of beads, and then we realized that, and my little puny blacklight will only show you a little bit of it, but we realized that they are uranium glass, or actually Vaseline. This is yellow-green, and it has a 1920s or 30s clasp on it, so these are flapper beads, but now someone would wear them at a blacklight party, and that's why they're $60.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.